everybody. This is Karen O'Donnell coming to you from Code Nurse. We are a group of nurses, healthcare workers who are looking to network and to support and promote each other in our endeavors. I would like to introduce you to one of our guest speakers. Her name is Kerri Dutton. Kerri is a nurse. She is an RN, Master's Prepared Nurse with a focus on education and leadership. She has an accomplished career as Director of Nursing for over 25 years in long-term care, and she's now focusing her efforts on educating nursing assistants, directing LNA Health Careers, which has been the premier LNA education site for almost 20 years in New Hampshire. So I want to welcome Kerri.
Happy to be here.
So Kerri, we just want to talk a little bit about how you started in your nursing career.
Long time ago. I was a junior in high school and wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew I was interested in healthcare. My mom worked in a lab. My grandmother was a nurse. And we had a presentation where the tech school in town came to our high school and they were starting an LNA program.
Okay.
And so they were really encouraging us, telling us all about nurses. And so I was really inspired that day. I loved the speaker. I loved everything that they showed. And I thought, well, this is like right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
But it did involve some change. Like I would have to change high school my senior year.
Huh.
My parents were really pushing for college right out of, and so the tech school kind of had like a different feel. They were more career focused. But I loved everything about the presentation. It just really grabbed me. And so I did it. And I changed high schools, my senior year of high school. And I loved everything about it. I loved my teacher. And that's really, like I used to tell her, I want your job someday. And it was always just kind of a joke, but it turned out to be,
Yeah.
So she would tell me things like, you have to go to med-surg. It was still, traditional back then.
Yeah.
You have to go to med-surg. You have to work in a hospital. You have to do certain amounts of things before you could be a teacher like me. And so that was kind of like my path, which along the road led me to different places. But it is funny that I used to say, I want your job. It did come out to be that way.
That is funny. So you started as an LNA. How long did you work as an LNA, would you say?
I worked as an LNA for about 5 years in that ballpark.
Yeah.
And then went to LPN school.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I was an LPN for 11 years.
Okay.
Couldn't really manage or figure out how I could go on to be an RN in the beginning. I knew I wanted to be an RN. I used to, look at my management team. Always wanted to be like them. I always wanted that job,
Yeah.
So finally was able to coordinate where I would go to school. So I went to get my RN in 2008 and got my RN and just decided right then that I wasn't going to stop because we had just come out with like hybrid and you could get your bachelor's online.
Yeah.
So I started working as an RN and just kept going to school online. And within 2.5 years, I had a master's.
Wow.
And so I graduated in 2012 with my master's degree. But always worked, went to school, and just didn't stop.
Yeah, that's great. I think that your story of how you started out and were inspired by some of your family members, that's a common story. I myself had a grandmother who was an LPN who said, oh, you have to go into nursing. And, it's really good to have those type of people to kind of show you the way and to really promote what you should do, because they probably have a lot more insight as to the type of person that you are And even if, as a young individual, you don't really know what you want to do when you grow up, to have somebody who steers you in that direction, and it works out well, that you actually, appreciate that, and can say it was the best decision to do that. I think a lot of people are floundering, especially, a younger generation who may not have as much direction, to have somebody in their family say, oh, nursing might be a good career. And, I think starting out as an LNA is definitely the best way to do that, because you learn how to take care of people, how to approach people, how to be that person to just, help to give a bed bath, to, show how to walk with them, how to, use good body mechanics, and going up through the ranks. I think we've all experienced people that we've worked with who started out as LNAs and have the appreciation of the hard work that it takes, to be able to then go on to become a nurse. And very often you don't lose those skills, you don't lose that feeling. So the people around you, especially the nursing assistants that you work with, they can tell that you've been an LNA before. And, it really it creates more team dynamic, in my opinion, because you've been there, you know what it's like, and you can all work together much better because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have like a little cheering squad. My residents were the ones who really told me, like, you can do this. Like, I see it in you. You got to keep going to school. There were days when I was tired or wanted to give up, or between semesters, and they would all root me on, and I'm like, that's really what felt the best. Like, I'm taking care of them, and they see that I can do this.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. Like, why am I giving up?
Yeah. So tell me where you went from there. So you got your master's, and at the time you were working as director of nurses at a nursing facility.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always had two jobs. So I was working as director, and then I would moonlight on the weekends as a LNA instructor.
Okay.
So I would always kind of do that on the side, in between like kids and what they had going on. So it wasn't consistent, but pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And so I always, I had that feedback from my students, who kind of turned into my residents, in the sense of like, keep going. If that's your dream, you should do it,
Yeah.
So that always felt really good.
Yeah.
And as a director of nursing, I would want to have classes in my facility to attract new LNAs.
Yeah.
But it just never worked out, whether it's because we didn't have enough people in that area, or we had to have so many to start a class.
Yeah.
Or, those people I had to take a class were only available, in the evenings.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense for a school to come teach those hours.
Yeah.
And so I kept getting canceled for like a year. And I didn't want to lose the people that I had working in other departments that wanted to be an LNA.
Yeah.
So I told my boss one day, I'm just going to start a school myself. And, she was like, oh, good, thinking it would never happen.
Right.
But one thing about myself is that when I know I want something, I'm always like working on it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I always had an entrepreneur spirit, like I was always selling makeup, or selling Tupperware, or the next best thing that came along,
Yeah.
So I was always like researching SBA, how to start a business.
Yeah.
Sometimes online you can find these like biz plans that you can purchase. So like how to start an adult daycare, or how to start this.
Yeah.
So I would take like little bits and pieces from everything for like my ultimate plan, which was to someday have a school.
Yeah.
I just didn't know when it would start or how it would really come to fruition.
Yeah.
But that day when she didn't say, no, you can't because you work for me as director of nursing, I thought, I have an opportunity. Like, I really did think that when I started something real, I was going to have to choose between the director of nursing or that.
Yeah.
Never be able to combine the two.
Yeah.
So, I told my husband, I'm not going to lose this opportunity. She didn't say no.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just started putting all the pieces together.
Hmm.
And, within 6 months, I was approved.
Wow.
And I really didn't expect that. I wanted it, but I didn't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that's just really how it started. I just kept working on little bits and pieces
Yep.
and kind of found like the frame that I would want.
Yeah.
And the approval process, it didn't cost me any money. So that piece was
Huh.
okay to do on the side.
Yeah.
It's everything else that costs money.
Sure.
Shortly there, found after.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing to hear your story, and I've talked to a lot of nurse entrepreneurs, and it's almost the same story. We have an idea, we want to do something else, and we have no idea how to do it, but we figure it out. And my process, I call it triage because I'm an ER nurse. So I take one little bit of information and ask another question and ask another question, and then figure out where you're going with things, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You just got to find the pieces. And I think as nurses, we can do that really well. And we don't recognize that until we have an idea. And then we just kind of go from there. So the last interview that I did, it's a nurse who invented something, which is just an amazing process. And, he was able to find out his resources and to figure out the process. But none of us have business degrees. And truly, I think about, if I had a business degree, would it have changed anything that I did? And I don't think it would have.
I think of that all the time.
Yeah, yeah, because I almost feel like it's an advantage not to have one in terms of this particular arena. So healthcare and nursing is its own beast, I guess you could say. But business, administration, all that has its own language as well. But, we figure it out. We're individuals that can do the triage. We can do the steps and find out what we need to do. So to go from having an idea and 6 months later having nursing school is just an incredible accomplishment.
Right?
It
Yeah.
really is. So from there, I think you went one step further. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So we have the LNA program, and it was, really important to me to kind of build a career ladder,
Mm.
because I felt like for me, when I became an LNA, I didn't really have guidance after that.
Yeah.
I knew in the nursing home and working that, your next progression could be an LPN, but I really didn't know how you got to be an LPN.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to work on things to kind of guide our students. So like, let's not lose touch. Let's know what your goals are, get you working somewhere that you're happy, and then bring you to the next step.
Ah,
And so we started an LPN program that we just got approved at LNA Health Careers.
wow.
And it's
That is so
to
amazing.
help people work through the career ladder when
Yeah.
they're ready. I
Yeah.
mean, it took me a long time. So,
Yeah.
it takes time to reach your goals,
Yeah.
but to know that you have somebody who will help you through that process,
Yeah.
I think is invaluable. So that's what I'm hoping to give all of our students.
Yeah. So you're taking care of your students like your residents. It's almost like you're a guidance counselor. You're helping them
Right?
along their nursing journey. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I tell everybody, I want the job of student advisor. Like, everybody else can do everything. And
Yeah.
I just want to advise the student on how to get from point A to point B and
Yeah.
the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So where do you go from here? So how would somebody be able to get in contact with you to find out a little bit more about your program?
So you can call us anytime, 603-647-2174. We're also on the web, So lnahealthcareers.com.
Okay.
And on our website, you can start the process. So you would fill out a brief little questionnaire, your contact info. And then from there, you get an email from me that has our handbook, our application, and all the steps to apply.
Okay.
And our first step we tell everybody is to study and take the TEAS test. That's
Okay.
kind of like an entry test for LPNs.
Okay.
So we tell everybody to start there, make sure you know what your scores are, or if you'll be eligible for the application. And if you need help to study, contact us. We can always work out groups.
Okay.
We want to help you succeed.
Yeah.
And the only way we can do that is once we can talk to you.
Yeah.
Everybody likes automated internet and email, but sometimes a conversation is just as important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So I guess the last point I'd like to ask you about is if you were to be approached by a nurse who has an idea or, wants to do something outside of the standard nursing box, what would you say to somebody who just has an idea?
Because I started with many ideas, is find the idea that people need. Ensure that people are going to need and want this product, device, or service you're going to sell.
Yep.
And then secondly, make sure you have a passion for that. So does it touch you? Does it motivate you? Is it something that you can picture yourself doing, selling forever?
Yep. Yep.
If you can match those two, then I think you're on the right path.
Yeah.
A little courses from the SBA, a little background on how to start a business, and have an outline is great. But if you can have what people want and that you have a passion for it, I think that's the ticket right there.
Yeah. And I think that having a good support network is really what it's all about. So that's certainly what we're trying to create, because nurses want to help everybody and we want to help each other. So being able to highlight somebody like yourself who has gone through this process and who is very approachable, and if somebody just had a quick question that they wanted to send, that is really the purpose of doing this, so that we can all connect and be successful and be proud of what we accomplished. So I'm so glad that we were able to chat and that you were able to tell your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So
love to hear from anybody who wants to start a business and, share what I went through along the way. Let's not pay for advice if we don't have to, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. We should all be able to have free advice, definitely. All right. Well, Kerri, thank you so much. And I'm sure that we'll reconnect again so that we can see how your progress is with your LPN school. All right. Thanks, Kerri.
Bye.
Bye.